This is a cabinet photograph, circa 1870 through 1899. They're lovely pictures on cardboard from different photographers all throughout the country and throughout the world as far as that goes. As you can see, there's a calendar behind her from 1888 and an old typewriter. This is actually a trick photo because people on both sides of that photo are the same, with two additional people added to the people on the right. It's a trick photography. They knew that even way back then. And here's a little girl on a rocking horse. That was a common theme of the day. By the way, these photographs are all from my blog. I just wanted people to know about the lovely past that this country has and this world has that we can see through photography. And here's a little girl dressed up for communion. Let's see, here's a young lady reading a book, and that's from Germany, I believe. And here is Princess Kaloliani of Hawaii, and the name of the photographer is on the bottom. You can see right there, Elmer Chickering, West Street, Boston. So oftentimes you had the name of the photographer and the place on the bottom of these cardboard photos. And here's women dressed up in fireworks, no less. These type of photographs were called advertising cards, and they're very rare. I'm lucky enough to own this one. That's actually from the UK. And here's a young lady dressed in popcorn from Baldwin, from Rutland, Vermont. Popcorn, can you imagine? And you see on the chair there's a mask. So she must have come back from the popcorn ball. This actually is a photograph of a very well-known photographer of the day, Cerrone. It has his imprint on the bottom, but that's actually Cerrone himself. And he is considered one of the greatest photographers that ever lived. And here's some people cutting up, eating watermelon. You see them eating their watermelon, just having the time of their lives, but they're all dressed up. And, you know, it seems like their watermelon is going to be all over those fancy clothes. Here's another advertising photo. This is a young lady who is advertising for, as you can see, M.H. Pfaffel photos, and the photographs are attached to her dress. And then she would stand maybe at a fair and let people know that this man took photos. This is a German couple. And here's a young woman from Humphrey, from Jacksonville, Illinois, I believe it is. And she's in a fake snow background, which was very popular in that day. Here's a young girl with a chair, leaning on the chair, and probably leaning on there just so she could hold totally still, because back then you had to hold totally still for the photo or you would be blurry. And here's my favorite dog, a border collie. My dog actually looks almost identical to this one. Oh, this one lived about 125 years ago. Oh, and here's one of the prizes of my collection. That is the best photograph you'll ever see of a woman looking in a mirror with the beautiful, beautiful long hair. And here's another young lady looking in a mirror, although her hair is not quite as long. Oh, and here's a portrait of a lovely young lady, very lovely. From, again, we were talking about 1870, 1865 on this one. This was a little smaller version called a CDV, which actually predated the cabinet photos, which I said began around 1870. This was on the smaller version, which were prominent between 1860 and 1870. So that is probably from about 1860 to 1870. Here's a young lady, and this is actually a Russian cabinet photo. And as a photographer, I look at that and I see all the lovely angles. There's lovely, lovely angles to that photo, which make it wonderful. Oh, and here are these gals with their basketball, dated '09. and I own that one, and that's a treasure. I love it very much. Now this photo is a real favorite of mine. I paid $11 for this. There's so many things, so many wonderful things happening with this photograph. The girl's looking right at the camera, but her white dress is set off by the black chair that she's sitting on her, as well as the photograph of the flowers that she's holding are set off by sitting up against the white dress. And then her feet mimic the legs of the chair. So it's little photographic tricks that make that photograph really special.